This tape has been copyrighted. Any duplication or reproduction without written consent is prohibited.
I have a questionnaire that I put together that is to kind of find out where people are at. I mean, and what I did with I designed this for my base shop, okay? So I did this because I wanted to find out where people were in my base shop. And I wanted to see who is really serious. Because one of the things that I think a lot of people do as they're building a business, they don't do a very good job at figuring out who are the most serious people in their base shop and who they should be spending 80% of their time with. I think some of you still are spending lots of time with people that you probably shouldn't be spending lots of time with. And it's really important to figure out who the right people are. I think one of the reasons I've had a lot of success is I've always been pretty adept at really picking out who were the right people that I would invest my time with. And also, I was very good at figuring out, by doing that, there's usually not very many of those people, and then that would motivate me to go prospect like crazy, to go recruit some other people, because instead of deceiving myself into thinking I have all these great people in my base shop and I could get them to do stuff, which you can't. If you haven't figured that out yet, you need to wake up. You can't get people to do stuff, You got to find people that are motivated, and then you work with those people. A lot of you are trying to squeeze blood out of turnips still, and turn lead into gold and all that, and you just can't do it. It doesn't work. Okay, you're going to stop doing that, and you need to figure out who's really motivated. One of the reasons we don't do that is because we know if we actually get honest with ourselves and really take an objective look at our base shops, it's going to point out how we don't really have anything going. It's going to point out how hard we really have to work, and we don't want to do that. We want to avoid that. We want to keep thinking that these people that I have that are showing up, I can turn them into RVPs. Well, you can't. Okay, I can't. I'm pretty good at this thing. I can't do it. If I can't do it, you certainly can't do it. Okay, so you need to really get better at this. So this questionnaire is designed to do that, and what it has what their production 2002 production personal and base shop goals for life, smart, securities, recruits, field trainers, and cash flow. I want to know how many field trainers are going to produce. One of the things that you should be really focusing on is getting you developing field trainers in your base shop. If you're really going to explode your base shop, you need to develop field trainers. You do, not your people. You need to develop field trainers. Because if you're going to recruit lots of people, if you're going to become a recruiter, a real recruiter and a builder, which is what you need to become, which is what I have been, what I was, my primary focus was to me personally to develop field trainers so that when I was recruiting 10 or 15 people a month, which I typically did all the time, that I would have 5 or 6 or 10 or 15 different individuals that were really, really fabulous field trainers that could close and answer questions and do everything properly. So as I was recruiting lots of people, I would have these other people help me train all these new recruits. And one of the reasons you don't aggressively recruit people is because there's nobody to train them, right? And so you don't aggressively recruit people. You kind of hold back a little bit, and you need to get great, Kurt, at developing field trainers so that as you're out there running around recruiting people, which is what you should be doing, right, so that you can have people to help you field train these people that you are confident really know what they're doing. Really know what they're doing. It's very important. So here's the questions I asked them so I can just find out where they're at. Number one was, what's the biggest problem you're having in your business? So I had them write down what's the biggest problem they're having in their business. And a lot of questions different. This is one of them. It says, maintaining consistent activity to grow my business. I often find myself getting distracted, straying away from the necessary activity to keep my momentum in my business moving forward, staying focused, lack of discipline. I get lazy. So that's what they said. That's pretty good, right? I mean, now I know what the challenge is with this individual, right? So a lot of times you don't know, why, what are they having problems with? You need to ask each individual what are they having problems with. Two is, why do you think the Marque coaching will solve that problem? And this is the most common answer is, with accountability, the accountability structure in place, there's a higher degree of accountability, and it will force me to do the necessary activity to keep on track to achieve my goals. So in other words, the one thing that I found over the years is that accountability is critical to you building a great business. If you don't become a master at holding your key people accountable, you're never going to really develop a lot of people. If you leave people to their own devices, they're pretty much not going to do anything, okay? There's got to be a high degree of accountability. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a second. The third question is, where are you stuck in your business? Because everybody's stuck somewhere, right? Even you are stuck somewhere. Some of you, you're stuck somewhere, okay? Where are you stuck in your business? And he says recruiting and speaking to people in a more direct manner. What's the one excuse you use all the time? I want to know what's the one excuse they use all the time. So whatever they'll tell you whatever that is, because everybody has an excuse, right? Why they're not doing stuff, why they're not bringing people to the meetings, why they're not recruiting, why they're not growing their business. What's the excuse you use all the time? So I want to know what that is. How will I know you're not keeping your promises? So I want to know, they're going to make some commitments. How will I know when you're not, keeping your promises? He put no results, no phone calls to you. That's one of the things I know. When somebody's really on it, they'll call you all the time, right? Okay. Some of you RVPs, when you work, I'm hearing from you all the time. And when you don't work, you're in the witness protection program. Don't know where you are. But this way you'll know, okay? And then the next question is, what should I say to you to get you back in line again? What should I say to you to get you back in line again? So then they tell me, if I'm talking to Daniel and I say, what should I say to you? I might think if I say this or that, it might get him going, but it could be totally off base, right? But if I ask him, what should I say to you, Daniel, when you're not performing at your highest level? What should I say to you to get you back in line again? Okay? And so then he'll tell me, and then I'll know, I won't have to guess. I'll know for sure what works with him, right? And that's real important. Like one of them I have a gal that her mom works 2 jobs, and she really wants to get her mom out of working these 2 jobs and take care of her and stuff like that. And she knows that. She said, talk to me about my mom and getting my mom out of work and stuff like that. So then now every time I see her, how much closer are you to getting your mom out of work? Or what did you do yesterday to help to make sure you're going to get your mom out of work in the next 6 or 12 months? And so I'm always asking her that question to keep that right there in the forefront of her thoughts, right? Because that's instead of me guessing what motivates her, wouldn't it be better to know exactly what motivates her, right? Way more effective. Way more effective. Okay? And then I have a thing. I suggest you do your role play and study in the morning. When will you fit this in your schedule? So I have them outline their daily routine for me, what they expect their daily routine is going to be. Okay? So I can see that they have a plan every week on what they're going to do. Okay? When they're going to prospect, when they're going to do this or that. I want to know what their plan is, because, see, a lot of people, they don't have a plan. They have no idea what they're doing week to week. There's no schedule. There's no discipline there. And they need to be on a schedule. They need to be disciplined. They have to make time, specific times for each thing, whether it be prospecting or field training or whatever, or personal development. There's got to be a schedule. Unless you're going to find most of you don't keep very good schedules, which is why you don't do as well as you could do. Because the one thing that is the most valuable thing you have at your disposal, right, is time. And most of you don't manage your time very well. Okay? You know that, all right? I don't have to tell you that. I can see by your numbers that you don't manage your time very well, because everybody in here is very, very good at the business. There's not anybody in the room right now, because everybody here is either an RVP or a full-time regional leader, so you can't be that and not be real good at the business. In other words, you're really good at closing sales. You're really good at you probably, if you get on a qualified appointment, you close 8 or 9 out of 10 or 10 out of 10, right? Okay? So if you're really good at the business, but you don't do much production, you are not on a schedule. Your discipline from a schedule standpoint is weak. It's bad. That's why you don't do well. Okay? It's not because you're not capable. It's because you're not on a schedule. You've got to get people on a schedule. You have to be on a very, very disciplined schedule until you get financially independent. You have to. If you're not, time just slips away. Have you noticed that? Like if you went, back this last week and you looked at your planner and how your time was utilized the last week, you would probably find hours and hours and hours of wasted time. If I was able to get you to be completely honest with me about how you invested your days the last 7 days, last Monday through yesterday or through Sunday, right? Or Monday through Monday, right? I guarantee you most of you in this room wasted 20 hours, minimum 20 hours, poured down the toilet. Didn't get a damn thing out of them, right? And then why is that? Because you don't keep a schedule and you don't plan every detail out. That's why. Okay? It's not a complicated thing. And if you're going to get your team to perform at a high level, you have to start performing at a high level. You have to get way more discipline with your time. That's one of the things that I was very good at doing. I was fanatical about my schedule and what I was doing all the time, and I planned out every hour. I was very, very diligent about that. I was fanatical about that. And I would suggest that most of you are not, which is why you get such pitiful results with the same 24 hours a day that you have that somebody that gets great results gets. Okay? And it's not that there's something bad wrong with you or you're not good. It's your discipline with your schedule. Right? And some of you goes, well, I'm my own boss and I'll do what I want to do. Okay, well, great. But even when you're your own boss, you still, see, that's what you've got to do. One thing I've noticed about people that are really successful, I've happened to develop lots of friends that are highly successful. These people are like they're on their schedule, boy. They're incredible. They know what they're doing, when they're doing it. They got it all mapped out, All of them do. Okay, what's important to you about mastering building a Primerica business? So I want to know what's important to them about mastering building a Primerica business, so I can have ammunition to get them to move and do the things that they need to do, right? Like he wrote, being able to help others achieve their goals and dreams, achieving financial independence, eliminating my debt, saving $750,000 to leave my job and go full time, providing a better lifestyle for my family. Okay, so I'll know all this stuff, and when I talk to them, I'm going to be bringing this stuff up all the time. Okay? And when I sit down with them, I'm going to review this because I have a copy of this. I'm going to be talking to him about this stuff. That's what he told me is important to him about the business. Right? And you have your own things, right? And then what will the above answer do for you? If by accomplishing those things, what's that going to do for you, right? Because knowing what's important, but then also knowing what is that going to do for you, why should you do that, what is that going to do for you, okay? How is that going to affect your life? And then another question is, how are the above two answers important to you? And so that they can get, what I want, if you notice those questions are just so that they can get very clear about what it is and why they're here. Okay, that's what I want to know. And I think a lot of you aren't, even in this room, aren't really clear about why you're doing this. Well, I want to make more money. I want to get financially independent. Don't even know what financially independent means to you, right? Don't even know when that's going to happen. It's not clear, right? And clarity is the key to everything. You've got to get clear, crystal clear about what it is you're doing and why you're doing it. And then the next question is, how did you decide the Hector Marque coaching? How did you decide to do it, right? Because there's a commitment they have to make. And then how did you know it was right for you? And then what are the 4 results you will achieve out of being in the Marque coaching? Okay, so then I have all this information at my disposal. I know what's motivating them, what's moving them. Anyways, that's that. So what I did, these are what I'm expecting people to do here. So go over this with you. And there's 15 things, and this is going to be like, this is a work in progress, because I've never really done this quite like this, okay? And this is what it says, I'm looking forward to working with you and helping you to accomplish your goals and dreams through building a successful Primerica business. In my 18 years building a Primerica business, I've discovered that accountability of someone you respect is a key component to building a successful business. For reasons unknown, when left to our own devices, we rarely do all we're capable of doing, but when we have someone that has an expectation of us, and they hold us accountable, we tend to perform at a much higher level than we would otherwise. I will be that person for you, following other requirements I have set forth, that if you follow with consistent discipline, I'm confident you'll succeed. Would you agree with that? That statement, that if generally you're going to do a lot more than left to your own devices. If you knew I was going to call you every night and say, how did it go today? What did you do today? How many points did you have? And I was calling you all the time, right? I guarantee you would do more than you're currently doing. Right? You would, right? Okay. So with your base shop, with your key people, Frank, you ought to be staying in very close contact with those key people. There's probably only 5 or 6 or 7 people that you would be calling daily. All right. That's what I used to do. The people that were really close, when I was really building a base shop, right? When like Dennis was in my base shop, or George was in my base shop, or Steve Cross or whatever. I used to talk to these guys all the time. Where are you at? What do you got going? Lots of accountability. Always calling them. Always asking where are they at? What do they got going? How many people they have come to the meeting? Always after them about results and what they were planning to do, when it was going to happen, and pushing them and that sort of thing. And then creating competition, because I would call Dennis up and I'd say, Dennis, how you doing? And he says, great. I said, where are you at? And he'd say, I'm at 3,500 and 2 recruits. And I'd say, fantastic. I just talked to George, and George is at 6,500 and 4 recruits. We're having a great month. I'm so excited. And then, right, so what does he do, right? He's a competitive guy. And I just tell him that, and he's like, oh, right? He can't stand that, right, because he's competing with George. And I would create lots of competition like that. I'd create competition by just doing that. Knowing I knew where everyone was at, so that when I'd call people, I would just put that little thing in there, right? And they knew what I was doing, okay? But it didn't matter. It still works anyways, right? And the competitive people would just like drive them crazy, and they would do more. And I got people to do a lot more. I used to get people really, really competing, you know? And that's why that year where I really my business really took off, where I did I averaged 153 sales a month in my bay shop in 32 recruits. That's what was happening during that time, right? Lots of accountability and lots of competition was taking place. So this is the first thing. There's actually 14 things of things that I'm going to require from. You will email your numbers daily to me, and I have them, and your partner. So what I'm having with them is we're going to do this tonight. I finally got this thing done. So we're going to partner up each person. I think I have like 12 or 13 or 14 people in my thing, right? So each one of them is going to have a partner, and they're going to have a partner that they're going to work with during, for 60 days, and then we're going to change partners. Every 60 days we're going to change partners up, okay? So they're going to be accountable to their partner, and they're going to be accountable to me, right? So it's higher than just being accountable to me. They have a partner that they're going to work with, okay? And then they will role play with their partner Monday, Tuesday, and Friday. Monday, Tuesday, Friday, okay, for a half hour. All right. So what they're going to do is they're going to be role playing, and I'm going to show what it is. It's going to be things like overcoming objections. They're going to role play their presentation or their intro to their presentation. They're going to role play different parts of the business, how to prospecting scripts, so that they memorize these things, okay? Why I want them to do this? Because I want them to be accountable to memorizing all the scripts, because when they start memorizing the scripts, they're going to get more confident, aren't they? One of the things that I found is that people don't know what to say. They simply don't know what to say. Is Jerry Roydenthal here today? Okay. Jerry, the other day, called me, okay? This is a perfect example. Jerry's an RVP, and he's doing a good job, right, George? I mean, he's really starting to go. This year, he'll probably make $250 or something like that. He's really on the move. Things are going great. He had one of his better recruiting months last month. Just really has it going now. And he struggled for a long time. Matter of fact, I had a lunch with him about a year and a half ago, and he was about ready to quit. And it was like one of those lunches where it's like, hopefully Hector tells me something good so that I don't quit. I can just stay doing this. One of those kind of lunches, right? And anyways, we talked, and he started going. But what he called me, he does this intro on the presentation, right? And that question I have people ask. Some of you are using this, and the question is, Jerry, let me ask you a question. Do you plan on retiring with your current company? Right? I would ask everybody this question when you sit down with them, okay? Because what do most people say? No. 90% of the time they're going to say, no, I don't. And then you ask, what's your plan to change careers? No one has one. Then it opens right up to showing them the business, okay? So he said to me that lately a lot of people have been telling him, yeah, I do plan on retiring with my present company. So he didn't know what to do. And this is an RVP, $100,000 earner, very sharp, very capable, right? But he didn't know what to say to that. And I'm thinking, because that to me is a no-brainer, right? But to him, he was at a loss. So he's like stumped, right? He doesn't know what to do when somebody says that to him. Okay, so now if an RVP that's $100,000 earned, that's fairly sharp, that's having success, doesn't know what to say, how about the new sales leader or district leader or regional leader in your base shop? Huh? And you don't teach them what to say. Think about that. How's that affecting your business? Wow, bad, okay? Because you think as they come to your Saturday trainings that they know what they're doing and saying, but they don't, okay? They do not. Because if they did, they would be doing much better, right? Because don't you have some sharp people in your base shop that they are capable of doing 3 and 5 and 10 times what they're doing right now, right? Promise you, they don't know what they're saying. They don't feel confident. Guaranteed. You think they do. They write sales and they recruit some people in spite of themselves, but they're not really confident, okay? Guaranteed. So I say, Jerry, what I would say is this, okay? And this is what I said. If Jerry tells me, yeah, I plan on retiring, first thing I would say, I'd say, congratulations that you found something you really love. I think that's really fantastic. Let me ask you a question, though. When do you plan on retiring? And then let's say they say, in 20 years. So let me ask you a question, Jerry. If you plan on retiring in 20 years, if there is a way that you could retire 5 or 10 years sooner than you're planning on retiring, Would you be open to exploring how you might be able to do that? And what do you think they're going to say? Great. So if I could show you how you can make additional income so that you can save more money than you're currently saving, so that would enable you to retire 5 or 10 years sooner than you're planning on retiring, would you be curious to find out how you might do that with our company? Great. Well, wonderful. Fantastic. Well, then that's the last thing we're going to talk about. So he didn't know how to do that, right? So what does he do when that happens? He just goes, okay, and then goes right into the presentation, but he doesn't talk to them about the business because he thinks they're happy with where they're at. Even if they are happy with where they're at, or they think they're happy with where they're at, everybody wants to make additional income, right? At least you want to get them to look at it, right? Because even if I get them to look at it, even if they don't do the business, now they've looked at it, and I close them and show them how it's a great company, great products and services, good for the consumer, great compensation, but for them, after I go through all that, it's still not right for them. Now I can get referrals for people they know that might be interested in my opportunity, right? Because now they've seen it. They've seen it's a great product, great services, great company. Now I turn this person into a potential referral source, even if I don't recruit them, but who knows, maybe I can get them started on a part-time basis. Just making some extra money. One thing I was always good at doing is just getting people to start, right? To try, to give it a shot, to make it easy. Because the one thing you want to do is you want to make it when you're sitting down with your clients or recruits or whoever you're trying to close them. The one thing you want to do is you want to make everybody feel like this is a piece of cake. It's simple. I say, Rick, all you have to do, okay, to do our business is do this, okay? Can you do this? You do that? Okay. That's all you have to do, because I'm going to do everything. The first 60 or 90 days, I'm going to do everything. I'm going to answer all the questions. I'm going to do the presentation, and you're going to sit there and maybe bring a tape recorder with you and just observe. All I need you to do is introduce me to the people, and I'll do all the work from that point forward. Can you do that? Richard, do you have any problem if I were to take him out a couple nights a week and make an extra $1,000 or $2,000 a month, and I did all the work? Would you have any challenge with me taking him out? Wonderful. And that's what I would do. And I would just that's all you have to do. You could recruit these people, but you've got to make them feel like it's easy. It's a piece of cake. You can't go, it's going to be really tough. Your first 18 months are going to turn to crap, and you're going to get a lot of rejection. And I'm not going to tell people that, right? That's stupid. I'm going to tell them it's easy. It's a piece of cake. I'm going to do all the work. All you have to do is sit there and watch me, and you're going to love it, and we're going to help these people. And that's what I'm going to tell them. I'm going to do everything, and you're going to get paid. How good is that? How good could that be, Daniel? That I'm going to do all the damn work, and you're going to get paid. Carmen, you have any problem with that? Wonderful. So I always made it seem like it was easy and simple and a piece of cake, and I was doing everything. Right? I didn't make it so you're going to have to be tough, and you're going to have to hang in there, and you're going to have a lot of rejection. You're going to invite 10 people to a meeting, and 2 are going to show up, and you're going to have a lot of dark houses, and I'm not going to tell anybody that. Make it, Frank, make it simple. Make it easy. Make it piece of cake. I'm going to do everything. Don't worry. I got it all covered. For you, all you have to do is be able to do this. Nod your head. Can you nod your head and be supportive? That's all I need you to do in the beginning. That's it. And I'm not going to let you go out and see people and get potentially embarrassed or anything until you are 1,000% ready to do it. And you tell me, Hector, get out of here. I don't need you. I don't need your help. You're just in my way. You're slowing me up. Okay? Until you feel that way, I'm going to be right by your side. I'm going to be holding your hand. I'm going to be coaching you. I'm going to be taking care of you. Don't you worry about that. Because why don't people get going? Because they're afraid. Because everybody's afraid. Okay? So if you're going to get people going, you have to reduce their fear level. That's the reason people don't do the business. Even when they get into business and they give you an IBA, the reason they don't do the business is because they're afraid. Most of you, the reason you don't prospect more is because you're all afraid. You could prospect way more than you're prospecting. You could talk to way more people. You could get your businesses to triple and quadruple almost immediately in the next 30 or 60 or 90 days if you just got serious about prospecting. But why don't you? Because you're scared itless, okay? You know it and I know it, right? You don't do it because you don't like the way it feels to get rejected. That's why you don't do it. Because you're afraid. Okay? Well, if you're afraid, and you guys are RVPs making a living, right? Making money, how are these new people? My God, it's like scarier than anything for them. Think about it, okay? So I'm going to talk a little bit more about it in a little bit, okay? You will listen to Hector's Overcoming Objections tape a minimum of 10 times per month. I tell you, one of the things, if I look back on why my business really exploded, like, when we really took off, the one thing that I did I really was focused on it, was teaching everybody how to close. And I got everybody listening to Hopkins. If you remember back, right? Remember that, Dennis? Remember that, Kurt? Remember that, Steve Cross? Steve Cross knows that. Remember we had that little conversation that one time, Steve? The one thing that I did with everybody that I have in my business that is doing very well today, every one of them to a person, okay, mastered overcoming objections. They became master closers. Every single one. That's the one thing they all have in common. They all have different styles. Gary has a different style than George. George has a different style than Dennis, and Dennis has a different style than Rick, and on and on and on. But everybody has a different style. But one thing they all have in common, when they get in front of a potential client or a recruit, they're closers. They close. They're great at closing. All of them are. Okay? And I promise you, most of your people aren't very good at that, at knowing how to overcome objections. That was one of the things that I was just fanatical about. We would do that all the time, okay? You got to get people great at that. Not good at that, great at that, because it allows you to become powerful. All right? You'll record a part of your presentation and an appointment setting or prospecting or overcoming objections each week and send it to your partner for review. So I'm going to have them practice and send it once a week. And they're going to go back and forth, okay? You may say, this is a lot of work. This is only for committed people. You're not going to get everybody in your base shop to do this, okay? This is only for people that are serious about getting better and mastering the business, okay? Those of you that are doing well, you all have this stuff done. You practice, drilled, rehearsed, right? Mark, didn't you do that? Over and over and over. Everybody that does well did that. So if you don't get everybody doing what you did, how are you expecting them to have your results? Kurt, if you don't get them to do what you did back then, you were in my base shop and you were mastering all the closes and all that, if you don't make them do the same thing you did, how are they ever going to do what you're doing right now? How? They're not. You will attend all scheduled meetings, training, and any special meetings, okay? If they're going to be in my coaching, they're going to be at every meeting, period. End of story, okay? Or they're not going to be in my coaching, all right? There's no slack here, okay? You must have or immediately apply for all licenses. They're going to be fully licensed. You know what? A lot of you have people, some of you have regional leaders that don't have securities licenses. How retarded is that? How could they be in the business that long and not have a securities license? Shame on you, okay? You will recruit a minimum one new associate per month. You might say, well, that's not very much. Hey, but if you looked at your base shops, and you look at how many people are showing up to your Saturday meetings and how few of them are recruiting people, if they just recruited one person, if you had just one, look, Daniel, you have a lot of people showing up to your meetings, right? How many? 60, 70? I mean, like your Saturday training meetings, I'm talking. 80. What if everybody recruited a person? Huh? Yeah, because you're recruiting like 20 or something like that right now, right? So you could at least get that to 50, 45 or 50. What's that? Yes, yeah, it's from just exactly right. It's only from a few people, okay? Exactly. You will have a minimum of 2 new guests per month at the overview meeting. Hey, how's that? Just 2. 2 out of 4 weeks. 2. You know how many people show up every week and never bring anybody to your meetings? The majority of them, right? Which means they're not exposing new people to the business, which means they're not prospecting. When they're not bringing people to Tuesday, they're not prospecting during the previous week. If somebody doesn't bring a new person on a Tuesday or whatever day you have your meeting, all it's telling you is these people they have 7 days to prospect to bring one person to a meeting, and most people don't bring anybody. Think about that. That's a big deal, just getting them to do a little bit, right? You will complete and carry back a minimum of 2 F&As a month, right? You will read 1 personal development book per month. This is one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to have them read all the books that I read, and then we're going to discuss those at the end of the month. Each book, we're going to go through it, and then we're going to discuss it. I'm going to lead the discussion. We're going to talk about it, and I'm going to make sure that these people start changing the way they think, the way they see themselves. those of you that have been around me a long time, you know how every week I would come out with a new book and I would teach from a book that I was reading. I did that all the time, and you would just go, "Oh man, I can't read all these books. You have so many books you're recommending." But what I would do is I'd read these books, and then I would teach from them, even though most people didn't read them. But at least you got the most important parts of these books from me, and I brought it down to took the best things out of it to help you with your business, and at a minimum that starts happening. And I want to get people focused on personal development, okay? I want them to get the habit of personal development. Most of you don't personally develop yourselves. I know that. It's obvious. That's why your businesses are flat. You're not growing like you could, okay? You don't make that part of your life. And then you will commit to master. This is a big deal right here. You will commit to master each product Primerica offers by June 1st, 2002. They include life, smart loan securities. What if everybody in your base shop that was committed, right, they had mastered every product that we offer? Huh? They really mastered. They really knew how everything worked. Huh? How would that affect your business? Huh? Think about that, right? But if you don't hold them accountable to it, if you don't force them to do it, guess what? They're not going to do it. Because people left to their own devices do nothing. That's what they do. Okay? This includes you, okay? Most of you don't have each product mastered. That's really crazy, right? You will have a complete understanding of Primerica's promotion guidelines. They should know, look, if you're going to be a great recruiter, you need to know how the promotion guidelines work. So if you're sitting down with a very sharp individual, you can cover how they're going to get promoted, how they're going to go from a rep to a district to a regional leader to an RVP to an RVP to an SVP and what does that mean to them, okay? How do you do it? A lot of people don't even know how to get promoted or how they're going to get promoted. Think about that. Some of you don't know. And you will have a complete understanding of Primerica's compensation. I want them to know how all the comp works. All of it. Because when you really understand our comp, on how it works and what it means when you're an SVP, an NSD, an SNSD, and what it means, it's gigantic, okay? Do you know, like for me as an SNSD, on a first-generation RVP, if my override and bonus on a first-generation RVP is like 47%, I think is what it is. Do you know that? It's 40. Do you know that if you're an SNSD, you override your first generation RVPs at 47%? Did you know that, John? Huh? No, you didn't. Probably didn't know that, right? 47%. So that means, right? Like Kurt, what are you going to do this month? 20. Okay. So if he does 20 grand, 47% of 20 grand is like $89,000, $9,400. Yeah, plus securities and smart and all the other stuff, okay? So if you do 100,000, I was talking to Daniel about this, and he's got that going right now, so that's going to be very short order, whereas he has 3 first now, right? And this month they might do 60,000, 60, 70, 80,000, probably 60,000 at a minimum. So his first is going to do 60,000, but if he's an SVP, which is still pretty good because it's 25% plus your override, which is 14% is the override, so that's 39%. So on 60 grand, okay, let's say it's 50 net, okay? On 50 net, you're going to make 39%, okay, almost 40% on 50 grand. So it's probably going to be somewhere between 18 and 20,000 is your advances and your bonus on your first generation RVP, not including your base shop. Your base shop's going to do what? 50 grand, and in your base shop you make the same thing, right? Well, you don't get the override, but you get the bonus. Yeah, you do get the override, because in a base shop, if he has a regional leader, okay, the minimum override on a regional leader now is 25% plus the 25% bonus because he does over 30 grand, right? So it's 25 plus 25. It's 50%. So if he does 50 grand in his base shop, it's 50%. So let's say after you take QBI, let's say it's 20 grand. It's 20 grand. Plus smart, plus securities. That's 40 right there. That's 40 just on the life part of it, and then you add those other things, right? That's it. He's going to be at 50 grand like now. Right? And if he grows his base to 100 and he gets his RVPs to do more, right, which I'm sure they want to do more, right? Because they want to get to 30 grand. Don't you guys want to get to 30 grand? Because that's where you guys start making some money, right, too, 20%. Just think of that comp. It's awesome. Unbelievable. But you know what? A new person, if you have a really sharp new person that's making $70,000, $80,000, $100,000 of their job, they don't even know how our comp works, and you don't sit down and explain it to them. If you would explain it to me, I'd have been jacked up out of my mind if I thought I could do that. You mean all I have to do is get 9 people to RVP and do this, and I can do that? Gee whiz, that's incredible. Think about it, okay? You'll master the intro to the 6-page presentation. That's one thing I want to make sure they master the intro, because I want to make sure they're talking about recruiting every time, and the 6-page presentation, and then other requirements as we go ahead. So quickly, this is what the tracking system is going to have. It has the name for the PFA, the year, and then see what it says right there: exclusive rights granted represented with the Marque hierarchy only. Sorry about that, but I talked to the company, and I can't give this to anybody. It's not my hierarchy. So, sorry about that. You're going to have to design your own. Isn't that a bummer? I asked them if I could. They said no. Okay, but what this has is place for their goals, right? So they have their goals, and as they do like a recruit, or the names go right in here, and it automatically totals up any live transactions, whatever, the name of the client, and then it totals it up and automatically totals. You don't even have to total. You just have to put in the numbers. Okay, so it's 500, 800, and it'll automatically total everything up. Has a place for development goals, product knowledge goals, and these are the goals and what they would be, okay? So that's their goals. So they'll have that so they can submit that to you every month so that you know exactly what they're trying to do. The most exciting part to me is a weekly tracking system. So it has 5 weeks because, some months start on different days and stuff like that. But what it has, I put in here the things that I wanted to make sure people focused on. So number of contacts, attempts made, which is the prospecting part, which is the most important part of this whole thing, okay? And then the number of new contacts, and then the number of appointments. So let's say they made 50 attempted contacts, they actually talked to 25 people, and they scheduled 15 appointments, let's say, right? And what it's going to do automatically over here, it's going to figure out, as they put the numbers in, it's going to figure out what the ratios are. So they'll know all their ratios on number of contacts to appointment, to number of attempted contacts to appointments, to actual appointments conducted, because you could have 10 appointments scheduled, you might only end up with 5 actually done, right? Okay, and then it has IBA submitted, and then that'll figure out for every X number of appointments you make, you'll know all the numbers, right? Life sales, life premium, smart, securities volume, subsequent, PLPP, LTC, and then what the income is. So it'll figure all that stuff out, and all the ratios will be over here. So you'll be able to see if a person's, right away you'll know if they're working or not, because you'll see how many contacts they make, right? Okay, so you'll know if they're actually even doing anything. But over time, you're going to find out, people are going to be able to figure out how many contacts they have to make to write X number of, to close X number of IBAs, X number of life sales, life premium, smart. So they'll know all their numbers. So then what they'll start seeing over time is if I make 50 contacts a week or 100 contacts a week or 200 contacts a week, I know I'm going to do X number of sales, X number of recruits, and then they can start controlling their business. And this includes you guys as well. If you kept track of these numbers, you could start seeing where you are, where you're deficient, and also if I have a guy that makes 100 contacts, right, and 100 attempted contacts, he actually contacts 50, but let's say he only sets up 5 appointments. What's his problem? He can't set up appointments. He sucks at that, right? So what I can do right away is I can say, hey, Dan, say, it's Daniel. I say, Daniel, we need to sit down. Let me go over. We'll spend an hour or two and let's practice and drill rehearse your appointment setting skills. Because I can see that he's not good at that right now, and it's just a technique issue. As soon as I teach him the techniques and he gets good at it, then it's over. Then he'll increase the ratios. And I can help them where they personally are deficient. You see? And I can also identify who's really good at this stuff, and the ones that do a really good job, guess what they're going to be doing on my training meetings? They're going to be teaching. Okay? Real simple. Isn't that great? Yeah. The ratios and all that. So they'll have all that, and let's see what else. And then it'll have a summary, okay? So each month we'll have, a summary of how many recruits they had and securities volume each month in life, and there's more summaries, but it'll summarize everything up, okay? And so every month they'll have those numbers, which is really great. Also, it'll have a ratio summary, so they know all the ratios of every different thing they've done, rate appointments to business. It'll all that. It'll have a summary of that, and it's all in the program. So if they're telling me they're making 20 contacts and they don't have one appointment set up, then right away we're going to know. Some of this is going to be they're going to have to be committed. You're going to be able to tell right away whether somebody's is being honest or not honest, and if they're not honest, who's getting hurt here? I don't give a crap if they're honest or not honest. As soon as I see they're not honest, what am I going to do with somebody that's not honest and not really going along with the program? Huh? That's right. I'm going to give them less time. I don't give a crap if you do it or not do it. I'm not trying to get somebody to do this. I'm trying to find out who I can pay attention to based on what they do. I don't care if you do it or not. I care to find out who's serious so that I can invest all my time with that or those individuals. That's all I want to know. Who do I know? Who's doing all the things I'm asking you? And these are the people that I'm going to be living with these people. We're going to become best buds because that's all I'm looking for. Okay? Because what can I do to get somebody to do something? Nothing. Okay? Nothing. I'm not that good. Right? I don't care if they do it or not.